caregivers is a big part of the book too. I mean, even different than Lucky Man, where you definitely talk about your wife Tracy and your family and those around you that you love. Was in this book, it's an even bigger part. You talk a lot about not only your own family and Tracy, but you talk about Christopher Reeve and Dana, his wife, who became a symbol for caregivers everywhere, but also just the everyday family people that take care of people with an illness. That was obviously an important part of this book for you.
And sometimes they take care of you by not taking care of you. And that's a key thing with Tracy, you know. And not to say that she doesn't take care of me, but she does it in ways that I'm not even aware of sometimes till after the fact. And yeah, I wanted to touch on that. And Alani Ali is another person I talk about in the book. That it's you know what I love about my life, and I talk about it a little bit with my family, is it's not a big topic of conversation in my household. That I have this. In the same way that my career isn't a big topic of conversation. In the same way that I don't know if my kids have ever seen Back to the Future. And that's really a gift that they give to me, because they would be well within their rights to talk about how it affects them. And whether I want to talk about how it affects me or not, the fact that I don't have to that much is a luxury that they afford me. And so yeah, I wanted to talk about, you know, the fact that I think when you have a condition, or you have an illness like this, you can look at yourself as you minus whatever it takes away, or you can look at yourself as you plus what it brings out in you and what it exposes you to and what you learn from it. And that's really been the case for me. And again, I'm able to do that because I have a family that supports me.
Well, you also talk about just the optimism, obviously being it's the foundation of this book. And you talk about some of your role models. You mentioned Lance Armstrong for the foundation that he created and the lessons you took there. You talk about Dana Reeve and Christopher Reeve and Muhammad Ali, as you mentioned. With Christopher Reeve, though, it was that formula for hope that you reference a couple of times in the book. How has that formula sort of impacted your life?
Well, I spent some time in the book, not a lot, but some time trying to parse out the difference between hope, optimism, and faith. And I don't know that I ever come up with an exact definition for each of them. But optimism, for example, being this kind of broad feeling of like, you know, chances are things will turn out better than you think they will. And that's kind of a broad rule. Hope, as Chris defined it, is optimism informed by knowledge. So you have this general feeling of hoping, you have feeling that everything will be okay, but you have some bit of information, in this case stem cells, where that's information that informs that hope, informs that optimism, and transfers into hope.
Yeah.
Something that you can on some level count on if all things go right. And you know, Chris was brilliant that way. He was such a smart guy. And again, he talking about Dana, and then Dana had this tremendous spirit and this tremendous love for him that you know, allowed him to look at it the way he did. Mm-hmm. They were powerful examples. I mean, and also, and I didn't really want to, in 2006 when I got involved politically in the midterm elections, you know, I mentioned in the book, I wasn't that fired up to do that. I really wanted to go to the beach. But with both of them having passed, it just seemed a responsibility that I needed to take on. And I felt inspired and supported by them, their work and their memory throughout that process.